The transport ship landed with a soft hum on the silver platform, stood near the window, her heart beating fast as she looked at the massive building in front of her. Academy, the galaxy's most famous school, the place where the best minds and strongest warriors from 1,000 worlds came to learn. She was the first human to ever step foot here. The doors opened and walked out slowly. The air smelled different, cleaner, sharper, like metal and flowers mixed together. 3 suns hung in the purple sky, casting long shadows across the landing area. Everything looked beautiful and strange. Other students were arriving too, saw creatures of all shapes and sizes. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales that glittered like diamonds. Some floated above the ground without feet. They all moved with confidence, talking and laughing in languages she could not understand. Nobody looked at her. She was just a small girl with dark hair and simple clothes, nothing special. A tall being approached the landing area. He had blue skin and 4 arms, each one thick with muscle. His eyes were yellow and sharp. He wore a silver uniform that marked him as an instructor. "New students," he said. His voice was deep and loud. "I am instructor, follow me to the registration hall. Do not fall behind." The group began to move, walked quickly to keep up. Her legs were shorter than most of the aliens around her, and she had to take 2 steps for every one of theirs. But she did not complain. She just kept walking. Inside the main building, everything was made of glass and light. The walls showed images of past students, heroes who had saved planets, scientists who had discovered new elements, warriors who had won great battles. Their faces looked proud and powerful. Wondered if she would ever belong here. The registration hall was enormous. Hundreds of students stood in lines, waiting to receive their room assignments and class schedules. Found her line and waited patiently. The alien in front of her had 3 heads, and all 3 of them were arguing about something. The alien behind her had no face at all, just a smooth surface where features should be. When it was finally her turn, the officer behind the desk looked at her with surprise. "Human," the officer said. It was a small creature with big eyes and gray skin. "We have never had a human student before." "Yes," said quietly, "I am from Earth." The officer typed something into a glowing screen. "Your room is on level 12. Your roommate is from the system. Your classes start tomorrow at first light." Took the small card that appeared from a slot in the desk. "Thank you." She walked toward the elevators, feeling eyes on her back. Some students were looking at her now, whispering. She heard words she did not understand, but she could guess their meaning. Weak, primitive, small. She did not let it bother her. She had heard worse things on Earth. Level 12 was quieter than the main hall. The hallways were long and curved, with doors on both sides. Found her room and pressed her card against the lock. The door slid open. Inside, a creature was already there. She had pale purple skin and large dark eyes. Her body was thin and graceful, and she wore a flowing robe that changed colors as she moved. She was sitting on one of the 2 beds, reading something on a floating screen. "You must be my roommate," the creature said. Her voice was soft and musical. "I am." "I am." Looked at her for a long moment. Her eyes seemed to go right through, seeing something deep inside. "You are human," said. It was not a question. "Yes." "Interesting." Closed her screen and stood up. She was much taller than almost 2 meters. "I have read about your species. You come from a small planet at the edge of the galaxy. Your people only discovered space travel 100 years ago." "That is true," said. "Most species here have been traveling between stars for thousands of years," continued. "The students here, they are the best of their worlds, the strongest, the most gifted." She paused. "I do not understand why the Academy accepted a human." Did not know what to say. She put her small bag on the empty bed and sat down. "I worked hard to get here," she said finally. "I passed all the tests." Tilted her head. The tests are designed for beings with advanced abilities, telepathy, enhanced strength, energy manipulation. What abilities do you have? Thought about it? I can run for a long time without stopping. I can survive in many different environments. I heal faster than some species. Made a sound that might have been a laugh. These are not special abilities. These are basic survival traits. Maybe said, but they are what I have. That night lay in her bed and stared at the ceiling. The room was dark, but she could see strange lights moving outside the window, ships coming and going, students walking on floating paths, creatures flying through the air. She thought about her home on Earth, her small apartment in a city called Seoul, her grandmother who had raised her after her parents died, her friends who had laughed when she said she wanted to go to the stars. "You are just an ordinary girl," they had said. "What can you do that aliens cannot?" She still did not have an answer to that question. The next morning came quickly. Dressed in the uniform that had been left outside her door, a simple gray suit with the Academy's symbol on the chest, was already gone when she woke up. The first class was in a large room with seats arranged in a circle. Students from dozens of species sat together, their bodies and faces all different but their expressions all the same, curious, competitive, proud. Instructor stood in the center of the room. His 4 arms were crossed, and his yellow eyes moved slowly across the students. "Welcome to Academy," he said. "You are here because you are the best, the strongest, the most promising young minds in the galaxy." His eyes stopped on, most of you at least. Some students laughed, kept her face calm. "This academy will test you," continued. "It will push you beyond your limits. Many of you will fail. Many of you will go home in shame. Only the truly exceptional will survive." He pressed a button, and a hologram appeared in the air, a list of names and scores. "Tomorrow we begin the combat trials. You will show us what you can do. You will prove that you deserve to be here." He looked at again. "All of you." Looked at the hologram. Her name was at the bottom of the list. Expected performance, low. She did not argue. She did not complain. She just made a small promise to herself. She would show them. She would show them all. The combat trial arena was the largest space had ever seen. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with mountains, rivers, forests, and deserts, all created by advanced technology to test the students in different environments. The sky above was artificial, showing a red sun that gave everything a strange, bloody color. 200 students stood at the starting line. They wore light armor and carried no weapons. The rules were simple: survive for 12 hours, collect as many flags as possible, and avoid being eliminated by other students. Anyone who touched another student's back for 3 seconds would eliminate them from the trial. Stood at the edge of the group. The other students towered over her. Next to her was a creature made of living stone, its body hard and gray. On her other side was a being with wings that spread 3 meters wide. They did not look at her. She was not worth their attention. Instructor's voice came from speakers hidden in the air. "The trial begins now." Everyone ran. The ground shook as hundreds of feet and claws and tentacles moved at once. Students disappeared into the artificial landscape, each choosing their own path. Some flew into the sky. Some burrowed into the ground. Some simply vanished, using abilities that could not understand. She ran too. Her legs carried her toward a forest of tall blue trees. The ground was soft under her feet and she moved quickly between the strange plants. She had no special powers, no wings, no ability to disappear, but she could run. She had always been good at running. The first hour passed without problems. Collected 3 flags from hidden locations in the forest. She heard sounds of fighting in the distance, explosions, screams, the crash of bodies hitting the ground. Other students were eliminating each other, showing off their powers and proving their worth. She avoided all of it. She moved quietly, carefully, staying hidden in the shadows of the trees. In the second hour, she met her first opponent. He was a tall creature with scales covering his body. His eyes were red, and his teeth were sharp like knives. He had already collected 7 flags, and he looked at like she was easy prey. "Human," he said, his voice like grinding rocks, "you should not be here." "Maybe not," said, "but I am." He attacked. His body moved faster than she expected, his clawed hand reaching for her back, but was not standing still. She ducked under his arm and rolled to the side, coming up on her feet 3 meters away. The creature looked surprised. "You are fast for a human." "Thank you." He attacked again, and again, each time dodged. She did not try to fight back. She knew she could not match his strength, but she could move, she could predict, she could survive. After 5 minutes, the creature was breathing hard. His movements were slower now, less precise. Was breathing hard too, but her legs still felt strong. Her body was tired but not broken. "Stand still," the creature growled. "Let me end this quickly." "No," said simply. She kept moving. The creature kept chasing. 10 minutes passed, 20. The creature was stumbling now, his scales dulling, his eyes losing their fire. He was running out of energy. Was not. She had learned something about her body long ago. Humans were not the strongest species on Earth. They were not the fastest, but they could run longer than almost any other animal. They could chase prey across entire continents, following it until it collapsed from exhaustion. They called it persistence hunting. Her ancestors had used this technique for millions of years. Now, she was using it against a creature from another world. The scaled student fell to his knees. What are you?" Walked behind him slowly. She placed her hand on his back and counted to 3. A light flashed, and his flags appeared in her hands. "I am human," she said. She left him there and continued into the forest. By the 6th hour had collected 15 flags. She had eliminated 3 more students, all of them larger and stronger than her. Each time she used the same strategy. She ran, she dodged, she waited, and when they were too tired to fight back, she touched their backs. Word began to spread through the arena. "There is a human," students whispered to each other. "She does not stop, she does not get tired, she just keeps coming." Some students laughed. A human, dangerous, it was impossible. Others were not so sure. They had seen the creature with scales sitting on the ground, unable to move, talking about the small girl who had run him into the ground. By the 9th hour, had 23 flags. She was no longer at the bottom of the rankings. She was somewhere in the middle, and she was still climbing. Her body hurt, every muscle ached. Her feet were covered in blisters and her lungs burned with each breath. But she did not stop. She could not stop. If she stopped, she would fail. And she had promised herself she would not fail. She found a river and knelt down to drink. The water was cold and clean, and it felt good against her dry throat. She allowed herself 30 seconds of rest. Then she stood up and started moving again. In the 10th hour she met. He was waiting for her at the edge of a desert area. He had blue skin and a body that seemed to be made of pure muscle. His eyes were silver and they watched her with interest. Not anger, not hatred, just curiosity. "You are the human," he said. "Yes. I have been watching you." He tilted his head. "You have no special abilities, no advanced technology, nothing that should help you survive here, and yet you have more flags than half the students in this trial." Said nothing, she was saving her breath. "I am," he continued. "I have won the combat trials for 3 years in a row. No one has ever come close to defeating me." He smiled, showing teeth that were perfectly white. "I want to see what you can do." "I do not want to fight you," said honestly. "You are stronger than me." "That is true, but strength is not everything, is it?" He gestured at the flags hanging from her belt. "You have proven that today." "Please move aside," said. "I do not want trouble." Did not move. "The trial ends in 2 hours. You can try to run past me, or you can stay here and wait for time to finish. Either way, I will be watching. Thought about her options. She could go around him, but that would take time she did not have. She could wait here, but that would mean no more flags, no improvement in her ranking. Or she could try to pass him. She took a deep breath. Her legs were screaming at her to stop, to rest, to give up, but she had come too far to quit now. She ran, moved to block her, his arms reaching out to grab her, but was small and she was quick. She ducked under his first grab, spun around his second, and slipped past him before he could adjust. She heard him laugh behind her, impressive. She did not look back, she just kept running. The trial ended 2 hours later. Stood in the arena with 67 other students who had survived. 132 had been eliminated. Instructor appeared on a floating platform. He looked at the survivors with his yellow eyes, and his face showed nothing. Results, he said. The hologram appeared again, showing names and scores. Looked for her name. She had to look for a long time before she found it. 7th place. Out of 200 students, she had finished 7th. Above her were the strongest beings in the galaxy, creatures with powers she could not imagine, technologies she could not understand, abilities she could not match. But she was 7th, a human 7th. The arena was silent. Every eye was on her. Students who had laughed at her yesterday were staring with shock. Instructors who had dismissed her were whispering to each other. Did not smile. She did not celebrate. She just stood there, her body exhausted, her mind calm. She had proven something today. She had shown them that humans were not weak. They were not useless. They were something else entirely. Something the galaxy had never seen before. The morning after the combat trial received a message on her room's screen. It told her to report to the medical wing at once. There was no explanation, no details, just an order. She walked through the long hallways of the academy, passing students who looked at her differently now. Some nodded at her with respect. Others stared with confusion. A few glared with anger, students she had eliminated in the trial, their pride still wounded. She ignored them all. The medical wing was in a tall tower at the edge of the academy. Inside, everything was white and clean. Machines hummed quietly, their lights blinking in patterns that meant nothing to her. Doctors moved between rooms, their bodies covered in protective suits that hid their species. A small robot floated toward her. "Of Earth, follow me." She followed the robot through several doors until they reached a large examination room. Inside, 3 beings were waiting for her. One was Instructor, his 4 arms folded across his chest. Another was a creature she had never seen before, tall and thin, with a head shaped like an oval and no visible mouth. The third was an older woman with silver hair and kind eyes. Her uniform had special marks on it that showed she was important. "Sit down, please," the silver-haired woman said. Her voice was warm but serious. "I am director. I run this academy." Sat on the edge of a metal bed. Her heart was beating fast, but she kept her face calm. "Am I in trouble?" she asked. "No," director said. "Quite the opposite. Your performance in the combat trial has surprised us. We want to understand how you did it." The oval-headed creature stepped forward. Its voice came from somewhere inside its body, low and mechanical. "I am Doctor. I am the head of biological research at this academy. I have studied thousands of species. I have never seen anything like what you showed yesterday." "I just ran," said. "I did not do anything special." "That is exactly what is special," Doctor said. "Running, endurance, persistence. These things are rare in the galaxy, much rarer than you might think." The doctor pressed a button and a hologram appeared in the air. It showed its body, a detailed image of her bones, muscles, organs, and blood vessels. Numbers and symbols floated around the image, measuring things she did not understand. "Your body," Doctor continued, "is designed for long-distance movement. Your legs have special muscles that do not tire easily. Your heart is large and efficient. Your lungs can process oxygen even when you are exhausted. Your skin releases water to cool your body down. The doctor paused. These features are very unusual. They are normal for humans, said. Exactly. The doctor's oval head tilted slightly. They are normal for humans, but they are not normal for anyone else. Instructor spoke for the first time. His voice was lower than usual, almost careful. Most species in this galaxy evolved for power, strength, speed. We can run fast for short distances. We can lift heavy objects. We can fight with great force, but we cannot maintain these abilities for long. Humans are different, Director added. Your ancestors did not evolve to be the strongest or the fastest. They evolved to last, to keep going when everything else stopped, to survive in conditions that would kill other species. Thought about this. On Earth, she had learned about how her ancestors hunted. They did not chase animals with weapons or traps. They simply followed them, walking and running for hours, sometimes days, until the animal could not move anymore. It was called persistence hunting. I know about this, she said, but I did not think it was important. It is very important, Doctor said. Let me show you something. The hologram changed. Now it showed the other students from the combat trial, their bodies, their abilities, their energy levels over time. Watched as lines went up and down on the screen. This is what happened during the trial, the doctor explained. Every student started with high energy. They ran fast, fought hard, and used their powers. But look at what happens after 4 hours. The lines began to fall. One by one, the students ran out of energy. Their bodies slowed down. Their powers became weaker. By the 8th hour, almost everyone was operating at half capacity or less. Everyone except. Her line was different. It started lower than the others. She had less initial power, less strength, less speed. But it stayed steady. It barely dropped at all over the 12 hours of the trial. While everyone else was falling, she was holding strong. This is impossible, instructor muttered. Her body should have failed. But it did not, director said. Because her body is not designed to fail, it is designed to continue. Looked at the hologram with new understanding. All her life she had thought she was weak. She could not lift heavy things. She could not run as fast as athletes. She could not fight like soldiers. She had always been the ordinary one, the average one, the one with nothing special. But she was wrong. She was not weak. She was efficient. Her body did not waste energy on unnecessary power. It saved everything for the long run, literally. There is more, Doctor said. The hologram changed again, showing new data. We tested your healing rate. Minor cuts and bruises heal completely in 24 hours. Broken bones can repair in weeks, not months. Your immune system attacks foreign bacteria with incredible speed. We also examined your brain, Director added. Humans have a unique ability to adapt to stress. When things get hard, your mind does not give up. It finds ways to continue. It creates hope even when there is no logical reason for hope. Remembered all the times she had wanted to give up. During the trial, when her legs were burning and her lungs were screaming. During her training on Earth, when everyone told her she would never make it. During her childhood, when she lost her parents and thought the world had ended. She had never given up, not once, not ever. Your species, instructor said slowly, is terrifying. Looked at him, the instructor who had dismissed her on the first day, the warrior who had seen 1,000 battles. He was looking at her with something she had never expected to see. Fear. You think we are weak because we are small, continued. You think we are harmless because we have no claws, no scales, no venom. But you are the most dangerous kind of predator, the kind that never stops hunting, the kind that follows its prey across mountains and deserts and oceans until it falls, the kind that outlasts everything. Director stood up. She walked to and put a hand on her shoulder. We have been running this academy for 300 years. In that time, we have trained the best warriors, scientists, and leaders from every corner of the galaxy, but we have never trained a human." "Why not?" asked. "Because we did not know," the director said. "Your planet was considered primitive. Your species was considered unimportant. Nobody thought to look closer." She smiled slightly. "We were wrong." The room was quiet for a moment. Sat on the metal bed, surrounded by beings who had looked down on her, dismissed her, ignored her. Now they were looking at her like she was something new, something dangerous, something important. "What happens now?" she asked. Director returned to her seat. "Now we study, we learn, we understand," she looked at with serious eyes. "And we prepare." "Prepare for what?" "For more humans," instructor said. "If one human can do what you did, what could 100 do? 1,000, 1,000,000? The question hung in the air, did not have an answer. She did not know what her people could do if they were given the chance. But she was starting to understand something important. Humanity had been alone on Earth for a long time. They had looked at the stars and wondered if they belonged there. They had felt small and weak in a universe filled with giants. But they were not small, they were not weak, they were just different. And different was learning, could be the most powerful thing of all. She stood up from the bed. Her body still ached from the trial. Her muscles were sore. Her feet were still healing, but she felt stronger than she had ever felt before. "I am ready," she said. Director nodded. "Then let us begin." The weeks that followed were not easy for. Word had spread through the academy about her performance in the combat trial and about the medical tests that followed. Students whispered in hallways. Teachers watched her with curious eyes. Everyone wanted to know more about the human girl who should have failed but somehow did not. Not everyone was happy about her success. Found her in the library one evening. She was sitting alone at a table, reading about the history of the galaxy, trying to understand her place in it. He sat down across from her without asking permission. "You are famous now," he said. Did not look up from her book. "I do not want to be famous." "Too late," leaned back in his chair. He was wearing casual clothes instead of his uniform, but he still looked like a warrior. Every movement he made was controlled and powerful. "Everyone is talking about you. The human who finished 7th. The girl who outlasted beings twice her size." "I just did what I could do." "Yes, and what you can do has made some people very angry." Now looked up. Silver eyes were watching her carefully. He did not look angry himself. If anything, he looked amused, but there was a warning in his voice. "Who is angry?" she asked. "Many students. They think the trial was unfair. They think you cheated somehow." He paused. "They want to see you fail." Closed her book. "I did not cheat. The instructors tested me. They know what I am." "I know, but that does not matter to some people. Their pride is hurt. A primitive human beat them and they cannot accept it." Stood up. "Be careful of Earth. Not everyone plays by the rules." He walked away, leaving her alone with her thoughts. The next morning found a message waiting for her. It was a formal challenge, an official request for a one-on-one duel. The challenger was a student named, a being from a powerful warrior species. According to the message, believed had insulted his honor by defeating students from his planet during the trial. He demanded a chance to restore that honor. Had the right to refuse. The academy did not force students to accept challenges, but she knew what would happen if she said no. People would say she was afraid. They would say her success was a mistake, an accident, a fluke. They would never respect her. She accepted. The duel was scheduled for that afternoon in the small arena, a circular fighting area surrounded by seats for spectators. When arrived, the seats were packed. Hundreds of students had come to watch. Teachers stood at the edges, their faces serious. Even director was there, watching from a special platform above the arena. Was already waiting in the center. He was massive, nearly 3 meters tall, with gray skin covered in armor-like plates. His arms were thick as tree trunks, and his hands ended in sharp claws. His eyes were small and dark, filled with anger. "Human," he growled, "you should not have accepted." Stepped into the arena. She looked very small next to him. Her body was thin, her arms weak, her height barely reaching his chest. She had no armor, no claws, no natural weapons of any kind. "Maybe not," she said, "but I did." The referee, a robot with a glowing blue core, floated between them. "The rules are simple. No killing. No permanent injury. The duel ends when one fighter surrenders or cannot continue. Do you both understand?" They both nodded. "Begin." Attacked immediately. His massive body moved with surprising speed, his clawed hand swinging towards head. She barely dodged in time, feeling the wind of his strike pass by her face. He attacked again, and again. Each blow was powerful enough to break bones, to shatter walls, to destroy anything it touched. The ground cracked under his feet as he moved. The air vibrated with his strength. Did not try to block. She did not try to fight back. She simply moved. Her body ducked and weaved, slipped and slid, always just out of reach. It looked like dancing, a strange, desperate dance between a giant and a shadow. The crowd watched in silence. They had expected the duel to end quickly. They had expected to see the human crushed, defeated, proven weak. Instead, they saw her surviving, minute after minute, blow after blow. Grew frustrated. His attacks became wilder, less controlled. He was using more and more energy, trying to catch someone who would not stay still. "Stop running," he roared. "Fight me properly." "This is how I fight," said. She was breathing hard, but her voice was steady. "You want strength, I give you patience." 10 minutes passed, 20, 30. The crowd began to murmur. This was not how duels were supposed to go. Most fights ended in seconds, maybe minutes. This one was lasting forever. Was slowing down. His movements were heavy now, his breathing loud and rough. His armor-like skin was covered in sweat. His attacks came slower, weaker, easier to avoid. Was tired too. Her legs burned, her lungs ached. Every muscle in her body screamed for rest. But she did not stop. She could not stop. This was what she was made for. You are not normal," gasped. He was barely standing now, his great body swaying like a tree in the wind. "No," agreed, "I am human." She moved forward. For the first time in the fight, she went toward him instead of away. He tried to raise his arm to block, but it was too slow, too weak. Ducked under his guard and placed her hand on his chest. She pushed. It was not a strong push. It would not have moved him at the start of the fight, but was exhausted. His legs gave out. He fell backward, hitting the ground with a crash that shook the entire arena. He did not get up. The referee floated over and scanned his body. Is unable to continue. Winner of Earth. The arena was completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They simply stared at the scene in front of them, the massive warrior lying on the ground and the small human girl standing over him. Then someone started clapping. Looked up. It was sitting in the front row, his silver eyes bright with something like joy. He was clapping slowly, steadily, the sound echoing through the silent arena. Others joined him. One by one, students began to applaud. Not all of them, some were too shocked, too angry, too confused, but enough to fill the arena with sound. Did not smile, she did not celebrate. She walked to where lay and knelt beside him. His eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. "You fought well," she said quietly. "There is no shame in losing." Looked at her. For a moment she thought he would attack her again, but then his expression changed. The anger faded, replaced by something else. Confusion, wonder, maybe even respect. "What are you?" he whispered. "I told you," said, "I am human." She stood up and walked out of the arena. The crowd parted for her, students stepping aside as she passed. She could feel their eyes on her, could hear their whispers, could sense the change in how they saw her. She was no longer the weak one. She was no longer the primitive one. She was something new, something they did not understand, something that scared them. Good, she thought. Maybe fear would make them listen. Maybe fear would make them respect not just her, but her whole species. Maybe fear would open doors that had been closed to humanity for too long. She walked back to her room alone. Her body was exhausted, pushed to its limits and beyond, but her mind was clear. She had won. She had proven herself. She had shown the galaxy what humans could do. And this was only the beginning. In her room she found waiting for her. Her roommate's purple skin was pale, her large eyes wider than usual. She looked at like she was seeing her for the first time. "I watched the duel," said. "I know. I thought you would lose. Everyone thought you would lose." Paused. "How did you win?" Sat down on her bed. Her legs could barely hold her up anymore. "I did not try to be stronger than him. I just waited until he became weaker than me." Was quiet for a long time, then she nodded slowly. "I think I understand now why the Academy accepted you, why you are here." "Why?" "Because the galaxy needs to learn," said. "We have been measuring worth by strength and power for too long. You are teaching us a different way." Smiled, the first real smile she had shown since arriving at the Academy. "Maybe, or maybe I am just stubborn." Laughed, it was a soft sound like bells ringing. "That too, definitely that too." 6 months had passed since arrived at Academy. The purple sky no longer looked strange to her. The 3 suns no longer surprised her. She had learned to call this place home. Things were different now. Students who had once ignored her now greeted her in hallways. Teachers who had doubted her now asked for her opinions in class. She had friends, real friends from species she had never imagined meeting, had become like a sister to her. Even the Academy champion treated her as an equal. But not everyone had accepted her. There were still those who hated what she represented. A human succeeding at Academy meant that everything they believed was wrong. It meant that strength and power were not the only things that mattered. It meant that primitive species from unknown planets could stand beside the greatest beings in the galaxy. Some could not accept this. The attack came on a quiet night. Was walking back to her room after a late study session. The hallways were empty, the lights dimmed for the sleep cycle. She was thinking about a test she had the next day, not paying attention to her surroundings. She should have been more careful. 3 figures appeared from the shadows. They wore masks that hid their faces, and their bodies were wrapped in dark cloth. She could not tell what species they were, but she could see the weapons in their hands, energy blades that glowed with deadly light. "Human," one of them said. The voice was deep and full of hate. "You do not belong here." Step back slowly. Her heart was racing, but her mind stayed calm. She had faced danger before. She had survived worse than this. "What do you want?" she asked. "We want you gone. We want you to leave this academy and never come back. We want the galaxy to forget that your species exists." "That is not going to happen." "Then we will make it happen." They attacked together, 3 blades swinging at once, each one aimed at a vital point. Moved on instinct, her body reacting before her mind could think. She ducked under the first blade, twisted away from the second, and jumped back from the third. But she was not fast enough. The third blade caught her arm, cutting through cloth and skin. Pain exploded through her body. She gasped and fell against the wall. "See," one of the attackers laughed. "Weak, fragile human." Looked at her arm. Blood was flowing from the wound, dark red against her pale skin. It hurt more than anything she had ever felt. But she had felt pain before. She knew how to push through it. She stood up. The attackers hesitated. They had expected her to fall. They had expected her to beg for mercy. Instead, she was standing, her wounded arm hanging at her side, her eyes burning with something that made them take a step back. "You cut me," she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. "You drew blood, now you have to finish what you started." She ran, not away from them, toward them. Her body moved faster than it should have, powered by something beyond normal strength. She grabbed the first attacker and pulled him off balance, using his own weight against him. He crashed into the second attacker, and both of them fell to the ground. The third attacker swung at her again. She caught his arm with her good hand and twisted. The weapon fell from his fingers. She kicked his legs out from under him, and he joined his friends on the floor. It was over in seconds. Stood over them, breathing hard. Blood was dripping from her wounded arm, making a small pool on the floor. Her body was shaking with exhaustion and pain, but she was still standing. "Now you listen to me," she said. "I am not going anywhere. I earned my place here. I passed the trials. I defeated every challenge you put in front of me, and I will keep defeating them no matter what you do." She pulled off one of their masks. The face beneath was familiar, a student she had beaten in the combat trial. His eyes were wide with fear. "Tell everyone what happened here tonight," she continued. "Tell them that you attacked me with weapons 3 against 1 and I still won. Tell them that humans do not give up. We do not surrender. We do not stop." She dropped the mask and stepped back. "Tell them," she said, "that we are just getting started." She walked away, leaving them on the floor. She made it to the medical wing before she collapsed. The doctors saved her arm. The wound was serious but not permanent. She would need time to heal, but she would recover. Humans always recovered. It was one of their greatest gifts. Director visited her in the medical room. The silver-haired woman sat beside her bed, her kind eyes filled with concern. "The students who attacked you have been expelled," she said. "They will face justice for what they did." "Good," said. "You could have been killed." "I know." Director was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. "When you first arrived here, I was not sure about accepting you. A human at Academy, it seemed impossible. Many people told me it was a mistake." "What do you think now?" asked. "I think it was the best decision I ever made." Smiled. "Thank you." "No, thank you," the director stood up. "You have taught us something important, not just about humans but about ourselves. We have been measuring value in the wrong ways for too long. Strength, power, speed. These things matter, but they are not everything." "What is everything?" Director looked at her with eyes that had seen 1,000 worlds. "Heart, will, the refusal to give up no matter how hard things get. These are the things that truly matter, and your species has them in abundance." She left to rest. 3 days later, was released from the medical wing. She walked through the academy halls slowly, her arms still wrapped in healing bandages. Students stopped to look at her, but their expressions were different now. There was no mockery, no dismissal, no pity. There was respect. Found her in the garden, a beautiful space filled with plants from 100 different worlds. He sat down beside her on a stone bench, his silver eyes looking at the strange flowers. "I heard what happened," he said. "Everyone heard. You fought 3 armed attackers with your bare hands, while injured." Shrugged. "I did not have a choice." Laughed, a deep, warm sound. "That is what makes you dangerous. You never have a choice. You just do what needs to be done, no matter the cost." They sat in silence for a while. The artificial sun warmed their faces. Strange birds sang in the trees. It was peaceful. "What happens now?" asked eventually. Now everything changes." Turned to look at her. "The Galactic Council has requested more human students at Academy. They want to study your species. They want to understand how you work, what makes you different." "More humans," repeated. "Yes, you opened a door that can never be closed. Your species is part of the galaxy now, whether anyone likes it or not." Thought about Earth, about her grandmother who had encouraged her to follow her dreams, about her friends who had laughed at her ambitions, about all the humans who were looking at the stars, wondering if they would ever belong there. Now they had an answer. "Good," she said. Smiled, I thought you would say that. That evening stood at the window of her room and looked out at the galaxy. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction, countless worlds, countless species, countless stories yet to be told. She was just one human, one small girl from a small planet at the edge of everything, but she had proven something important. She had shown that size did not matter. Power did not matter. What mattered was the will to continue, the refusal to surrender, the determination to keep going when everything seemed hopeless. Her people had these qualities. They had always had them. Now the galaxy knew it too. Somewhere out there, other humans were preparing to follow her path. They would face the same challenges, the same doubts, the same enemies, but they would overcome them. They would persist. They would endure. Because that was what humans did. Touched the window with her bandaged hand. Her reflection looked back at her, a young woman who had come so far from home, who had fought so hard to prove her worth, who had finally found her place among the stars. "We are just getting started," she whispered to the galaxy. And the galaxy, whether it was ready or not, had no choice but to listen.